Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Pam Sari, and I direct the Asian American and Asian Resource and Culture Center. Today is Info Thursday, and we're here with the executive board members from the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. So let's hear from them. So I would like to start with introduction from all of you. So can you please tell us your name, your position at SAAC, and info on your student athlete activities, so major, year in sports?
I'll go first. My name is Samara Miller. I'm originally from Naperville, Illinois. I am a second-year graduate student in the Masters of Human Resource Management program and on the track and field team. And I'm the president of SAAC, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jared Florell. I'm a senior studying finance and computer information technology. I'm on the men's wrestling team, and I serve as the president-elect for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and I'm also a member of the Big Ten Anti-Hate and Anti-Racism Coalition for the 2020-2021 school year.
Hi everyone, I'm Inez Wanamarta. I'm originally from Surabaya, Indonesia. I'm a member of the women's golf team. This is my 4th year at Purdue. I'm a combined degree student, so I am both in my last year of my undergrad and my first year of master's. And I am studying, well, my undergrad is in PR and my master's is in human resource management. And in SAAC, I represent the director of Boilermaker engagement.
Thank you so much. So, this conversation started because SAAC sent the ARC an email a few days ago outlining their mission and activities in these amazing infographics that prompted us, wanting to know more about you, and that's why this conversation is here. So, Samara, Jared, and Inez, can you tell us a little bit about SAAC and your mission, and also maybe some of the activities that you do?
So the Purdue University Student Athlete Advisory Committee is a nationally recognized student athlete run organization. And so at the campus level, all D1, Division II, and Division III institutions are required to have a SAAC, Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And so the purpose of SAAC is to serve as a liaison between the student athlete population, the athletic department, the Big Ten conference, or in another conference like SEC or ACC conference, and the NCAA on different issues involving the overall welfare of collegiate athletes, while also fostering a positive student athlete image, whether that's within the athletic department itself, within other student organizations. And so the goal there is to provide an outlet for student athletes to come talk to people their age, to come talk to their peers about different issues they're having within their teams that maybe they don't want to talk to their coach about, or maybe they're unhappy with how their coach is coaching them, or maybe their practices aren't going so well, or they feel like they need more academic help.
Yeah, and I can just speak a little bit about kind of what the structure of our organization looks like and some of the events that we hold. So as Samara said, the goal of SAAC is to have representatives from, all teams within our athletic department serve as representatives of their team and help work as liaisons. So we have representatives from every team, between 1 to 2 representatives who come in usually on a bi-weekly or monthly basis to our meetings, in which we share information that's relevant to them, whether it be updates from our administration on new events or programming, or changes to compliance rules within the NCAA. And then their job is to kind of bring all those updates back to their team and bring questions from their team or issues concerning student athlete well-being back to SAAC to help us kind of bring those issues to light, to whether it be coaches, administrators, what have you. So this year, some of our big initiatives are Boilermaker engagement, which Inez has been heading up and is part of the reason that we got introduced to ARC. So having our student athletes engaged both within all the events that we run, as well as across campus, and being really engage with the entire Purdue community. Another big one being diversity and inclusion. This has been a big initiative of ours for the past few years. And 2 years ago now, we started the Social Justice Committee within athletics, which we focused on educating our student athletes on D&I and what it means, and equity, and how they can continue to use their platform to push forward social justice narratives that is important to them, as well as, you know, offering events such as like anti-racism events and things like that, where they can engage with each other and talk about issues that are prevalent to them. And then the final of our big initiatives this year is mental health awareness. And this has been really big for us, especially now during COVID, just providing our student athletes with resources to help them kind of navigate their lives, and letting them know that, you know, mental health is very important as a student in college going through this difficult transition period, as well as athletes. So we were heavily involved with the Green Bandana Project last spring, and had a lot of great engagement with that. And as well as now we have 2 sports psychologists on staff within athletics. So continue to engage with them and provide them opportunities to get in front of our student athletes.
Yeah, I think Jared pretty much covered most of what we do in SAAC. One more note I think I would like to add would be within SAAC, we work together with a newly established program called the Boiler Pro Plus program. And essentially this is focused on professional development for student athletes. And so a lot of student athletes sometimes find that transitioning from, you know, student athlete life to professional life after sport a little bit difficult. And so we work in partnership with Boiler Pro Plus, as well as some other companies and organizations within Purdue to focus on helping these students be able to be ready for life after sport. A couple of events that SAAC usually holds before the pandemic, we did have like some award ceremonies, but we did work with a couple of organizations on campus. Last year, we were lucky enough to be able to be a part of the Mirai Nugasu event. That was really awesome. But also this year, things are obviously going to look a little bit different because of COVID. And like Jared said, the Boilermaker Engagement Initiative, we're trying to get out virtual game nights and something like that. But right now we do have an online survey that we're trying to figure out what the student athletes need and want from us the most.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so initially I had some questions about the events but you already covered most of them. But I guess can you provide a little bit more specific information about some of the diversity and equity and inclusion events that you had hosted in the past?
So Jared, prior to being our president-elect, he was actually our director of diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to let him kind of cover what we've worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. So this kind of came up 2 years ago with athletics wanting to continue their work in diversity and inclusion, and we kind of saw there was a gap and there was a need for that. So starting second semester of 2018, we started the Social Justice Committee, and we started in February with an event that Samara and I helped spearhead, where we kind of talked about the history of social justice within athletics and how athletes in the past have used their voice to speak on matters of social inequalities and civil unrest and things like that, and how it's continued forward now, obviously seeing huge things happening even within the WNBA and NBA as of last night, them boycotting the season due to some of the social injustices that have happened and civil unrest across the country. So that was our first event. It was a lot of fun to just kind of, you know, speak up about issues that matter to us and let our fellow student athletes know that this is something that is top of mind for us, and that, you know, we encourage all of our student athletes to use their voice. And then we have partnered with Purdue HR in the past to do, what is, Sammy, you can help me out.
Unconscious bias training.
Yes. So unconscious bias training, that's something that we're working to continue to develop and become a regular training for all of our members of student athletes, as well as coaches and administrators to go through that training. We feel like that's something that's really important, specifically within athletics, with having people come from all different backgrounds and having to be a family on the team. So including that type of training. And then recently, the Big Ten established an anti-racism and anti-hate coalition in the wake of George Floyd's murder to talk about how we as a conference can continue to push forward equity on our campuses and inclusion. So I've been a member of that, and it's been really interesting to see people come from all across the Big Ten to come together to kind of use our voices and figure out what we can do better as institutions and as a conference to continue to promote equity and equality and social justice change. So I'm a part of the public relations subcommittee of that. So be on the lookout for more things coming from the Big Ten, but rest assured that this is something that is very important for the Big Ten and Purdue specifically. And we have some really smart people on this coalition working to continue to promote change and actively doing what is necessary to make the lives of our student athletes better while they're at school.
Jared, I have a follow-up question, and maybe for Samara and Inez as well. So with the coalition, right, the anti-racism and anti-hate coalition, how do you see that being connected with the equity task force, right, that Purdue just announced? Do you see yourself also actively trying to connect, right, these two communities?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really happy to see that task force announced, and I've personally spoken with Trustee Don Thompson about his vision for this task force, and I think it's something that'll be pivotal for Purdue going forward to continue to assure equity across racial and gender backgrounds for everyone. So I'm really excited, and hopefully I get the chance to engage with that committee. And I feel like, you know, it really ties into what the Big Ten is doing as a whole. And I'm really proud to see Purdue taking that step and the action step to start engaging students and administrators and professors alike and kind of tying in, you know, ways that we can continue to improve our campus. So I think, yeah, that'll be very pivotal, and I'm excited to see some of the updates for that in the future.
With all the events going virtual or being canceled during this time of the pandemic, how do you engage or encourage engagement among your participants and the community as a whole?
So engagement is obviously super important to us. Like, we want our student athletes to come to our events. We want them to talk to each other. And so for this year, we relaunched a new initiative or a new project. It's called Sibling Teams. And so since Inez is in charge of Sibling Teams, I'll let her speak to that a little more. But the overarching goal of Sibling Teams is to keep our student athletes engaged with one another, especially since fall sports have been canceled. And so we're going to miss that piece of, you know, going to games together and cheering each other on, since we don't really have a whole lot going on right now besides, you know, those that are still in practice and just classes. It's going to be really important that we use this time wisely and still, you know, engage with one another to keep that fire going. So Inez, if you want to add a little bit more about Sibling Teams.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So like Samara said, we are relaunching this new initiative, and essentially what's important to know is that during SAAC meetings, it's really important for every SAAC team representative to have a team update. So essentially what their team is doing, you know, what they're expecting from the season. And obviously things are a little bit different because of the pandemic. And so we have a lot of teams that are still on campus that are still training voluntarily, but a lot of them are still together. And it's also important to know that right now we're not physically allowed to be together. Like, different teams can't be within the same space. So we think that it's super important for us to maintain that communication between teams. And so when we do have our biweekly or monthly meetings for SAAC, we have decided that we will use the Siblings Team initiative, where instead of in the past, like let's say I'm from women's golf, I would report on women's golf. I would instead now have to report on my sibling team, whatever their updates are. So that encourages communication between my team and whoever my siblings' team is. For right now, we're just keeping it within SAAC representatives just because we don't think that it's ideal to have all 400 plus student athletes to be, physically together and trying to get information from each other. But we definitely hope that once this pandemic has settled down and things kind of start going back to normal, we plan on expanding this towards the rest of the student athlete body.
I actually have a follow-up question also, just in general. How are you all, right? How are you? I keep hearing in terms of physical wellness as well as we know, some of our campus communities, including in your department, are affected by COVID-19, and also the latest news that we heard about the coaches' pay cut. How are you in general over there?
I would say things are definitely interesting. It's almost like every day we get a new email, or we use this platform called Teamworks where we get updates from our coaches and different administration. And it's like every day, it's like we have 4 new emails upon like the 5 we just got yesterday, and we have more things to do and there's more protocol. So it's definitely a little overwhelming, and that's another point why we want to have engagement, because we need to lean on each other now more than ever. And I know like this is super overwhelming for everyone. And so I would say it's going to take a lot of support from one another. Jared and Inez, do you guys have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Samara touched on a great point. Just, there's ever-changing protocols going on, not just within athletics or Purdue, but, as a country. And I think, some of the pay cuts that you mentioned are just kind of financial restrictions that have come up, due to some of the circumstances that we've faced over the past 6 months. And, it's not unique to athletics. Every department within the university is facing some budget constraints. So I think in this time of change, it's really important to just have grace with everyone that you come in contact with, whether it be, our administration or coaches here, or, your professors, whoever you engage with on campus. So I think that's something that I've been trying to keep top of mind, is just having some grace and just kind of rolling with the punches, as is said, and just knowing that, this will get better, things will get better, but it's really important, during these tough times. A quote that I kind of go back to is, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So I think we have a lot of tough people at Purdue. So we as a Purdue community will get through this time, but it's just important to remember that, just have some grace during this period and do what you can. Be nice to your fellow Boilermakers, and do what you can to be a good person every day and get what you need to get done.
Yeah, I think Samara and Jared pretty much covered everything. From a student athlete or like from an athletics perspective. I do want to put a little plug. I do know that Purdue Athletics is hosting an event called More Than Just a Game. We would really appreciate it if you guys could go check it out. You might not know this, or you might know this, that Purdue Athletics is completely independent from Purdue University for funding. And so right now, the student athletes and the Purdue athletic staff would really appreciate it if you could just at least spread the word and take a look at that. But that being said, I would like to also say that I'm really proud of our fellow Boilermakers, at least within the SAAC community and with communications within our teams. It sounds like everyone's being really supportive. We as the SAAC executive board have asked that they show us some proof if they do have briefings, if they have communication with their teams, just to show us that, you're actually doing this and you're actually engaging with people. And I mean, there's been lots of pictures, lots of updates, and we're just really glad to see that everyone's, talking to each other as much as they can and supporting each other, showing up to meetings and stuff like that. So that's always good to see.
Thank you.
And just going off of that, in terms of how Asian and Asian American communities can participate in some of the initiatives, you mentioned one of them. Are there any other ways for those communities to participate?
So we are completely open to collaboration on any level, whether that's a social media campaign or hosting an event, or you guys just coming out to like an open SAAC meeting or even a closed SAAC meeting. You guys just want to kind of sit in and see like what we do on a day-to-day basis. So we're open to anything, any ideas you have. We would love to collaborate with you guys. Our goal is to collaborate a lot more with student athlete organizations, especially ARC specifically, because I do know we have a couple of different Asian American student athletes within the department. And so just like with our diversity and inclusion initiative this year, we want to make sure that all of our student athletes know that we care about them, we see them. We don't want anyone to go unnoticed. So that's kind of like our goal when we reached out to different student athlete organizations. We want to collaborate just to encourage our student athletes to also collaborate and go to these different clubs and and join these different student organizations. Like, just because you're a student athlete doesn't mean that you can't be involved anywhere else on campus.
Beyond the Boilermaker community, are there ways that you're engaging with the greater Lafayette community?
Samara, would you be okay to talk that?
I'm sorry, Inez, can you repeat that? You kind of cut out a little bit. One more time? Can you guys hear her? I can't hear her.
Inez, your voice is
Okay.
I was just gonna say, would it be okay if I took the question?
Yeah, go. I think you asked if you could answer the question.
yes.
Okay. Yes, you can. Yeah. Go ahead.
You guys can't hear us listening now.
Inez, we cannot hear you.
I believe she's typing in the chat.
Right. So we were waiting for Inez.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure. So I'm curious to ask, in addition to engaging with the Boilermaker community, are there ways that you're engaging with the greater Lafayette or West Lafayette community?
Yes. So amongst our executive board, we do have a director of outreach. His name is David Forsyth. I pronounce his last name wrong every time I say it, but he's on the men's swimming team, and he's head of our committee called Boilers Care. And so every Monday in prior years, we have this event we call Mentor Mondays, and it's where we go to the North End Community Center and just sit with kids from the area for an hour, 2 hours, whatever your schedule permits. Sometimes we have regulars that go literally every single week, or we'll have specific Mondays for different teams. So like say this upcoming Monday is softball's Mentor Monday, and so typically only softball players would go, but it's open for anyone to attend. Inez is also covering a bit more in there. But we also, did you hear Inez? No? Okay.
You guys can just go ahead.
Okay. Okay. We also put on this event. The first year we did, I believe, was 2018. It's called Boilers Got Talent. And so when we first did Boilers Got Talent, we invited different kids from Riley's to judge the events. And so different student athletes were able to come and like showcase our talents outside of sports. I think we had a juggler from the men's cross country team that won. And then this previous year, we also held it again. That year we did it a little differently because all the donations went towards the victims of Hurricane Dorian. We do have a couple of Bahamian student athletes within the athletic department, and so we wanted to donate to them because I do know like their families were affected by Hurricane Dorian. We also have a coach that's from the Bahamas. Jared, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, along with all those initiatives, I'm sure you guys are aware of the Boilermaker 5K challenge every spring, where all the proceeds go to the Purdue Cancer Research Foundation. So traditionally, student athletes are some of the main volunteers at those events. So we have all of our teams go and volunteer either in different portions of the race as providing like water and supplies or helping set up and take down. So that's been really crucial to continue to engage with our community as well. And that's been a really fun event in the past. I know my team is usually in charge of setup and takedown. So getting there nice and early, helping put up all the food and water bottles and helping take that stuff down. So those are just a few of our events, but yeah, we're always looking for new opportunities to engage our community. And especially now, it's very important for us to continue to show our support. And, you know, in this COVID environment, there's new ways and new creative ways that we're trying to approach that, but we're open to all different types of events and would love to hear from people, and all they have to do is reach out.
Inez also dropped another event in the chat that we forgot to mention. It's called Reading is Leading. And so again, different athletes are sent like a sign up sheet, and they just sign up for different times they want to go and read to different kids at different elementary schools. To that point, over the summer, one of the football players, his name is Jared Sparks. He was a part of another reading campaign. I believe it was called like Sparks of Imagination, something along those lines. I can get the exact name for you guys. Where he just read different books, virtually obviously, and it was posted on our social medias. And so we're always open for different ways to engage, especially our kids, because, you know, they definitely look up to us. And so we want to be that role model in any way possible.
Yeah, while you talk about social media, can you tell us a little bit what your handles are in terms of social media so that everyone can engage with you?
Yes, so our Instagram and Twitter handles are both Boiler SAAC, all lowercase, and then our Facebook is Purdue SAAC. There is a Boiler SAAC Facebook page, but we don't have access to it and cannot find the person who does have access to it. So there are two Facebook pages, but the active one is Purdue SAAC.
And I know you guys mentioned this, but I just wanted to ask, just to reiterate, what are some current initiatives you guys are doing for athlete wellness education and about other communities that athletes don't identify with?
Jared, do you want to take this question?
Yeah, so you asked about engagement and just engagement across the university.
Yes, and then also just athlete wellness as well.
Okay, yeah, sure. So the big one on athlete wellness is our mental health initiative, and we actually have a group committed to this called Boiler Brave. It was started last year by a member of our women's soccer team. But essentially, you know, they bring new and creative ways to address mental health wellness and awareness every month. So in the past, it's been like yoga days or just talking about what are some ways to reduce stress and things like that. So, and they bring in our sports psychiatrists and are actively involved with, you know, helping set up plans and best ways to address athletes on these issues. So that's something that, you know, was a huge hit last year, and we're looking to continue to improve engagement on those fronts. But we also have committees that are set up to address like food, ways that athletes continue to focus on nutrition and their health and well-being. So those are our big student athlete wellness committees. And then as far as engagement across the university, Inez and Sammy and I have been reaching out to all the different resource centers on campus, including ARC, to set up times like this where we can just talk on how we can continue to partner in the future. And Inez could probably speak on some more of her initiatives, but that's something that, you know, has come to our attention in the past, that student athletes have felt like they've been kind of siloed in athletics and don't have the opportunity to get out and join as many organizations as they had hoped. So we're actively trying to continue to present all the great student organizations on campus and different activities they can get involved with to help them kind of get out of their comfort zone, get out of athletics, and go see all the great organizations around our campus.
A point I did want to add to what Jared said, Boilermaker Brave was not created by SAAC. It was created by a women's soccer player who was a member of SAAC, but SAAC kind of absorbed it. And I wanted to emphasize the point that it's important, student athlete wellness is important to us, mental health awareness is important to us. And so the reason I kind of talked to Hannah Malfiore is her name, and asked if SAAC could absorb Boilermaker Brave is because once she graduates, because obviously she will only be here from 4 to 5 years and she'll move on eventually. I wanted Boilermaker Brave to still be an organization after she left. And so Hannah is still completely in charge of everything Boilermaker Brave. SAAC just absorbed it. And so our director of student athlete wellness, Malcolm Dotson, isn't necessarily in charge of SAAC. He just, or not SAAC, excuse me, Boilermaker Brave. He's just kind of Hannah's co-pilot in a sense. But once Hannah does graduate, then whoever is the director of student athlete wellness will spearhead Boilermaker Brave.
And I also noticed in some of your infographics that you also want to increase, right, student athletes engagement in campus governance. So involvement with Purdue student government. So how is that going right now, and what do you foresee?
So far, it's going really well. A few of our executive board members attended the Purdue Student Government Leadership Summit that happened at the beginning of August, and we learned so much information. We connected with numerous different organizations, which is super exciting. And we've also reached out to Asada and Hannah themselves and also sent them our infographics and kind of introduced SAAC to them. And we've invited them to our SAAC meetings. And so on our meeting schedule, you'll see that we have specific days for senior admin, but added to that, we also have a specific day for Purdue student government to come and attend. And so Jared and myself have already talked to Asada about what that will look like, what we're kind of hoping will come from that meeting. And added to that, we actually have a team representative, Tyler Mack. He's on the men's track team and he's a member of Purdue student government. And then David Forsyth, he's our director of outreach, who is also a member of student government. And so we have ties already prior to like the start of the year with student government. And so that will definitely help us kind of get the ball rolling.
Very nice, thank you. So we come to the closing question or comment, I guess. So if there are messages that you can give to all Purdue Boilermakers, and especially the Asian American communities at this time, what do you want to say? So I'll just, let each of you say something, a message during this time.
I would definitely say don't hesitate to reach out. I feel like there's kind of this stigma on campus that, athletes have to be separated from the rest of the student population. We want to break that stigma. We want you guys to reach out to us. We want to engage with you. We want to collaborate. We want to be a family because at the end of the day, we all are Boilermakers, whether we're student athletes or we're students that go to class every day. At the end of the day, we're all students. We're all here for one purpose, to get an education and to support one another. And, at the end of the day, say Boiler up. So Jared, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just to echo pretty much what Samara said, and then just include, we appreciate all the support from all of our students across the campus. It means a ton to us. We hope, come the spring sports that we'll be able to compete and you guys will be able to come and support us again. But just know that we're in this right with you. We're doing these, we're going through these COVID times with you. We're doing the online virtual classes. But if you ever see any of us on campus, feel free to say hello. We're a friendly group. And yeah, we look forward to continuing to engage with you guys in the future and come closer as a Boilermaker community.
Can you guys hear me this time?
A little better,
Yes.
Inez.
Sort of.
Sort
Okay.
of.
All right. Well, I'll give this a try, and if not, I'll type it. This isn't necessarily just related to student athletes, but I just think that it's really important to send out a message to anyone who might be experiencing any difficulties just because of the pandemic, because of what the pandemic has put you in situationally wise, or just because of, the way that you look. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I am a face of that might be targeted in some places just because of the situation of the pandemic. And I would like to impart some words that my coach said to me before I came to Purdue. And it's kind of similar to what Jared said earlier about tough people, is that only tough people can come to Purdue because, you know, the situations aren't necessarily always the best. And like my coach likes to put us in difficult spots, but that's how we shine. And so I think it's important for us to remember that, you know, the tough spots are here to make us better people, and we'll come out on the other side better versions of ourselves.
Thank you so much, Samara, Jared, and Inez for your time today. Best wishes for the fall 2020 semester. And let's talk about collaboration between SAAC and ARC in the future. Thank you.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you all.
We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. I will stop recording now.